welcome to the studio. This is our language studio, and my name is Mrs. Enechukwu. May I know your name, please?
I'm Ms. Kamara.
Okay, Ms. Kamara, I am so delighted to have you here because we really want to talk about the future of Liberian English. So, can we know what you think? What is Liberian English?
Alright, so what I think is Liberian English is a rich, unique English. The uniqueness of the Liberian history as a West African country that was founded by African Americans. So Liberian English was primarily shaped into two major influences. The first one happens to be the West African Pidgin English, which we commonly call the colloquial, and then there is the standard English, which is closest in variety to the international English, internationally spoken English.
Wow, that is good, because I used to confuse the colloquial as Liberian English until I started hearing educated Liberian English because that is very good. Okay, so in one of my studies, I discovered Cashew's concentric circles, and he talked about the inner circle English, the outer circle, and then. So, what do you think about the Liberian English in respect to Cashew's concentric circles?
Okay, for those who don't understand what Cashew's concentric circles are about, it was a framework that was invented by a linguist, Cashew, right? Wherein global English speakers are divided into three concentric groups, three circles: the inner circle, the outer circle, and the expanding circle, based on their history and their function and the function of the English language. So we have the inner circle where English is their mother tongue. English is their first language. Countries like the United States, like Canada and the UK. And then the outer circle for countries where English was established as a result of colonial history. So those countries have their mother tongue, but then they also have English as an official language of business, of education. It is their official language, but it is not the first language. Okay. Countries like Liberia, most African countries actually, Nigeria and Ghana. And the expanding countries are countries that just use English as a foreign language. It is of no governmental role. They teach us in schools as a foreign language. So looking at the model, I think Liberia falls clearly into the outer circle because English was not our primary language, but it was introduced by us by the American settlers that came to Liberia in 1822, and then we adapted to the inner circle norms, and then English became our instructional language, our language of governance and all of that.
Wow, that's a very deep history you gave there. Okay, now over to Liberian English. Do you think that there should be a standard for Liberian English, Because sometimes you discover that for those of us who are colonized by one of these countries, actually, we tend to model our spoken English according to the way they speak. In Nigeria, they try to speak like British, and in Liberia, they try to speak like Americans. But by the end of the day, it doesn't define our identity as outer circle English speakers because we are still kind of new colonialism. So, but do you think there should be a standard for Liberian English?
I think there should be.
Even documented standard?
Yes, there should be a documented standard because the Americans have a dictionary, the British have a dictionary. In as much as English was brought to us, it was established by the Americans, we should also find our own path. Because the Americans have certain words that they call certain things. We too have our own words that we use for certain things. People should look at a dictionary and open it and see Peking, meaning small boy. Okay. They should also see money man, which is for a rich man. They should see something like butterpear that we call avocado. That is our own. That is our original English. So I think it should be documented and we should have it there. And that way we can put Liberia out there. We can put Liberia on the map. At least we can show people that we have our own English. We have things that we can do on our own.
Yeah, Ms. Kamara says it's from Liberia to the world. That is good. Okay, I won't take your time too much, but I want to ask you another question about the curriculum, because when I came here, I discovered that there are lots of things that should be in the English curriculum, but it's not there. As a seasoned and an experienced English teacher, what do you think about the curriculum, the Liberian curriculum, and the English language?
So, the Liberian curriculum needs a little bit of revision there.
Okay.
Because personally, I've experienced it where you ask a student to just say a sentence in standard English and you see them struggle. And again, when you look at the English curriculum that was given by the Ministry of Education, you see nothing about oral English, you don't see phonics.
That is true.
Yes, you don't see it there, which is very important in verbal English, in spoken English, because if we don't learn it from down there, up here becomes difficult. So it should be included into the curriculum so that students can learn it, and then as they go, they get acquainted to the standard English apart from the colloquial, because they find it very difficult to speak the standard English because of the colloquial.
Wow, Ms. Kamara, I really see you as one of the policymakers of Liberia. Suppose that you become the Minister of Education for one day. What are the 3 reforms you would do in the educational system in Liberia?
First, I would revise especially the English curriculum. There are so many things that should be there that are not there. And then we could also introduce technical studies. Most high schools in Liberia, you don't see anything about technical studies.
That is
so
true.
I think before students graduate high school, they should have some kind of hands-on experience, things that they do, even one. Okay, so that when they get out of high school, they can find something to do while trying to go to college. And then secondly, I think that I would provide adequate materials for schools around Liberia, especially underserved schools, because when you go to most of the schools, you find out that even books they don't have. And what is a school without books? All right, and then the environment might not also be too good. Thirdly, I would work on controlling the tuition of schools in Liberia. There should be a limit on it. I think it should have a control. I think people shouldn't just, the fact that the school is a private school doesn't mean that schools should just, skyrocket the tuition, because there are some people who want to send their children to school. As a matter of fact, education is a right of every child, right?
Sure.
And there are some parents who want to send their children to school, but then depending on what they have, their annual income cannot measure up to schools that are okay, schools that have standardized school, that have every facility, everything that a child needs to learn and grow. So those are the 3 things that I think I would do if I had just one day being a Minister of Education.
And you shall, Ms. Kamara, one day. Okay, it's been a pleasure really being with you on the studio today. I really look forward to having this kind of educative and informative time again. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Ms.
Bye.